Tobago, Tobago, Tobago. Tobago, oh how I love thee, Tobago. Tonight I stand here, privileged as the 8th Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago to address you, my family in Tobago. And allow me to start by saying good night to our political leader of the Tobago Council, powerful speaker, and I am sure the next Chief Secretary of the THA, Mr. Ansel Dennis, the Chairman of the Tobago Council, Mr. Larry Paul, to the 2 powerful standard bearers, 2 young women who I have been privileged to be with and alongside in the People's National Movement for the last 10 years, and Sham for a bit longer when I joined the opposition Senate bench for the PNM. Miss Ayana Webster Roy from Tobago East, and Miss Shamfa Cujo Lewis from Tobago West, who on the night of April 28th, in 3 weeks, will be returned to the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago under the People's National Movement. To all of the Tobago Council members, to our minority leader in the THA, leading the battle by himself, along with Petal, but as the only elected member, Mr. Kelvon Morris and Ms. Petal Benoit. And it would be remiss of me not to use the opportunity to greet former political leader of the Tobago Council, Tracy Davidson Celestine. And it warmed my heart greatly this evening when I walked into this hallowed hall and I looked to the front row to see one of the greatest statesmen that has ever served Trinidad and Tobago, our very own Mr. Orville London. And that is the quality of people that time and time again the People's National Movement produces, as we saw tonight by a young man who impressed me greatly. Your youth speaker, stand up. This gentleman, we are proud of. Now we're putting you all on warning. He might be from Tobago, but don't be surprised if I take him with me to Trinidad, eh? Tobago, you've had a long afternoon and a great evening of wonderful speakers, your very own. So I am not going to be too long this evening, but I appreciate the opportunity to share some important messages with you. Because you see, you here in Tobago are critical to the People's National Movement retaining the government of Trinidad and Tobago. And I can tell you as the Prime Minister, I have already counted the 2 Tobago seats to form the next government. So I start this evening by declaring my bias for Tobago, because Tobago is a place that I love very dearly. And I understood with all my heart, that is right. And I understood why. Because I made a call, because I always give accurate facts. So I made a call to my father as I was on my way here. And I said, Dad, remind me where you and Mom had your honeymoon. Right there in Buko. So claim me as your own tonight, as a product of a marriage in Trinidad with a honeymoon in Tobago. My dear brothers and sisters in Tobago, you have a serious choice like the rest of us to make on the 28th of April, because we all hold the power with our one vote. But we must be very conscious that, exactly as speakers before me have said, all of the rallies, all of the talk, all of the canvassing beforehand does not win an election. We have to make sure on April 28th, from all the way in the east, come straight down to the west, that everybody wakes up on April 28th, says their prayers, brush your teeth, head to the polling booth, and take as many people with you as possible to ensure that you return the People's National Movement to government. And I stand here excited. I stand here excited as a young man with lots of hope and vision for Tobago and Trinidad. And I will deliver that vision to Tobago and Trinidad with your vote. And I stand here tonight to give testimony to these two young women that you have sent from Tobago to serve in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, and to tell you, because I understand there are certain people that may not believe the hard work of Shamfa and Ayana. I have sat in the cabinet for 10 years, and Shamfa mouth hot, and whilst Ayana's mouth isn't as hot, she is a passionate advocate. And every time, at every cabinet meeting, these two representatives advocate for you in Tobago. And under the 7th PNM Prime Minister, a great man, Dr. Keith Rowley from Mason Hall, you had a PNM government that was prioritizing delivery for Tobago. And tonight, I stand here and give you a guarantee and an assurance as the 8th Prime Minister of Tobago and Trinidad, I will do the same with these two women in my cabinet. Allow me to warn Tobago, because you see this thing called coalition government. You see this thing where they try to pretend this is the UNC, that they're not involved in Tobago. Do not forget for a second. And I'm going to give you two stories that I can personally attest to. The first one was when I first met the Chief Secretary of Tobago, Orville London. And I'm not sure he will remember me at that time or the case that I was doing. It was a UNC government in power, and it was a PNM THA under Chief Sec Orville London. And Chief Sec Orville London wanted to progress Tobago as the PNM always does. So he found a creative way to build the Millsherve administrative complex that it would not cost Tobago on its books. And what the UNC government did is took him to court. Mr. London, you remember that matter? So I came to Tobago as a lawyer to represent the THA. And I was so proud to meet this statesman, Chief Sec Orville London, in his office. He had a then young Joel Jack sitting down in a corner. And Mr. London was working away, and I was taking instructions to fight the case against the UNC. You know what hurt me? And I felt the pain for every single citizen of Tobago who cares about Tobago. Mr. London told me, he said, I write to the Prime Minister, I get no response. I call the central government for assistance for Tobago. They never return my calls. And I was dumbfounded. I said, Mr. London, but what do you mean? You are in charge of Tobago. How could you not be writing? How could you not be getting responses from the government? And his usual statesman-like manner and diplomatic way, he just said, they are not returning my calls and responding to me. But the public servants explained the level of disrespect to me. And I stand here tonight giving personal testimony to you in Tobago. Do not allow that to happen, because it was 2 Tobago seats that weren't the PNMs too, that joined this unholy alliance called the People's Partnership. And that was the treatment of a PNM THA. So can you imagine, if it is not a PNM central government, what would happen to you? And I said, so you don't get your money on time? No. They had the bare minimum of the formula for payment to Tobago. They were not allowing developmental programs in Tobago. But remind yourself what it was that they came across to Tobago to do at Cocoa Reef. You would know better than I do. So that is my first personal testimony as to what happens when it is not a PNM government, what happens to Tobago. The second one was another case I did as an even younger lawyer, because I returned to Trinidad in 1998. And I've been very fortunate in my professional life. People say maybe it's because of diligence, working hard, intelligence. But I think it's because God has smiled on me. And I was called to President's house. At the time, the president was another Tobagonian, a gentleman by the name of A.N.R. Robinson. And the president told a story to myself and senior counsel that the UNC government was disrespecting him, that the UNC government was not listening to the advice and the caution that he was giving to them. And you may recall, some of you who are older, the younger ones would not, but you will tell them the story, that when the Basdeo Pandey government, a UNC government, won, the then Prime Minister, a UNC Prime Minister, wanted to appoint 6 persons to the Senate who had lost as MPs. You remember that? And I looked in that Tobagonian president's eyes and literally saw the pain as he described. I am cautioning them that is not the way to go. And you know what the UNC government did? They sued and went to court. Anyone who knows the Constitution knows you don't sue a president. I give you those 2 quick stories tonight to remind you, my family in Tobago, of how those people in the UNC view you. I have sat in Parliament for 11 years, 1+ year as an opposition senator, and then the last 9.5, almost 10 years as an elected member of Parliament. And I have observed the behavior of the UNC on the other side, and their complete disregard and disrespect for the people of Tobago. You hear it every time in their debate when either of these 2 young, brilliant representatives of Tobago get up and make their contributions on your behalf in the Parliament. So remember that on April 28th, and remind all of your family, your friends, your co-workers, everybody, why they have to make the choice of the People's National Movement on the 28th. Because they have no respect for Tobago. And don't be fooled by them sending another party and saying they're not participating in Tobago. The mere fact that they don't participate in Tobago should be a sign to you of how they view Tobago and their disrespect. Because in every single election since 1956, the People's National Movement have always come forward in every single seat in Trinidad and Tobago and offered representation. No matter how difficult it is. And I see Mr. Stanford Calendar in the back, and I greet him tonight. Because he would tell the story of a young Keith Christopher Rowley in the 1981 election, if I remember correctly, and the two of them working hard in Tobago West to bring it home and missed it by a few votes. So Tobago take respect seriously. Now let's get to some of what I have done and what I intend to do for Tobago and how I will prioritize the continued development of Tobago as the central government of a People's National Movement. You all remember in 2016 the crisis we were having with the Sea Bridge? How the UNC had ignored the maintenance of our ferries and we went into crisis. Well, I was given the task when I went with Dr. Rowley to Australia to source 2 brand new state-of-the-art ferries for Tobago. And I heard a son of the soil, Demi Cruikshank, tell a story at the opening of the Tobago terminal a few weekends ago. That when we came and we met, I was put in charge of negotiating against Austal and Incat, 2 Australian companies, to get the best ferries for Tobago. And I remember in those conversations, them talking about, well, you're sure you need this, you don't need that, you want to cut this, you want to cut that, maybe a smaller vessel, etc. And I listened to the Tobago contingent in that team. And I listened to other people, including government experts, saying, well, maybe we could cut some corners. And right there and then, with the authority of a P&M cabinet, I said what Tobago wants, Tobago will get. Because Tobago deserves the best as anybody else in the world. And today, Tobago can lay claim to 2 of the best fast ferries in the world, APT James at Tobago, and then the Buko Reef also for Tobago. Last year, February, we had a disaster in Tobago, the oil spill. As the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, as soon as that information came to me, and I understood immediately how it could affect the economy of Tobago, the people of Tobago, and most importantly, your beautiful landscape in Tobago. I told the staff, the permanent secretaries, and I got on to Heritage to say, whatever we have to do to protect Tobago and to contain this oil spill, we must do. Unfortunately, we met some early resistance from those who are administratively in charge. But we didn't give up in Tobago. We didn't give up. And I stand here tonight, again with a track record to tell the people of Tobago that under my stewardship, we managed to contain that oil spill, to mop it up, and to deliver for the people of Tobago, ensuring we protected your environment. But more than that, because there's an international oil pollution fund that we were a member of, but we had stopped contributing to when we had shut down the refinery. And I heard about this oil fund, an international fund in London, in the United Kingdom. And all of the experts said, we may not be able to get them to agree to cover Tobago. And they put together a team, as has always happened in the history, a team of experts and technocrats to go to this fund, to make the case for Tobago. And I thought about it. And I said, the people of Tobago, this is going to make the world of difference to them if we could tap into this fund, because then we can afford the best that the world has to offer in dealing with this oil spill. And I went to the Prime Minister and I went to the Cabinet. And this has never happened before, because I was just the Minister of Energy. And I said, Prime Minister, Cabinet colleagues, give me the opportunity to go and lead the charge. Let me lead the team, and I will argue. This is a body that is made up of many, many countries of the world. I believe over 60 countries of the world assemble in this large hall, and you have to persuade them to allow you the fund. Of Tobago that we succeeded, and now we got the access to that fund on your behalf. Because Tobago deserves the best, and we have proved to you that that is what would happen under People's National Movement government. Now let us get to my plans and my vision, as my brother in the back is urging me on. We just delivered a brand new state-of-the-art airport terminal right there in Crown Point, the A&R Robinson that even Trinidad is jealous of. That is part of a PNM vision for Tobago, because what we have done there and what I intend to carry out as a plan with you, with your help, with your voice, and for you, Tobago, is to bring quality hotels to Tobago. I will push through, I will fight, and I will prioritize having that hotel, the Marriott, built on Rocky Point. Tomorrow, I will just show in Ansel on my phone. Adam Stuart has arrived from Sandals, and tomorrow, if you tell me to do it, and you tell me to go out on behalf of Tobago, I will lead the team along with Tobago and along with Tobago's stakeholders, or fishermen or farmers, to fight for the taxi drivers, to fight for the farmers, to fight for the tour operators, to fight for people to get jobs from Tobago, for Tobago. You tell me that is what you want tonight, and I will go and do that for you. PNM. People of Tobago, do you want us to ask Sandals to return for Tobago? I will ensure that the jobs are for the people of Tobago. I will ensure that every job that is possible, 99%, will be for the people of Tobago. I will ensure that our fishermen supply the fish, that our farmers supply the produce. I will ensure that it is our taxi drivers that bring the guests from that brand new state-of-the-art terminal that is yours, from the people of Tobago, for the people of Tobago. PNM. But I can only do that on your behalf if that is what Tobago wants. So when I go there tomorrow with a mandate from Tobago, and I do what I've done for the last 9.5 years, fight tooth and nail and negotiate, understand I am doing that for Tobago. And we must not allow people's foolishness before Adam Stewart and his team even arrive to start setting it up for failure. But that depends on Tobago. we were going to build a state-of-the-art marina for Tobago. A marina that you see like in islands like St. Bart's, a high-end marina. Because this PNM government and I, as the Prime Minister, will continue the vision, believe that Tobago deserves the best. I don't want a small marina for Tobago. We wanted a marina that you see the mega yachts come in and the richest people in the world bring their boats to Tobago and they spend their money here in Tobago and they employ the people of Tobago. And that is what I want to fight for on your behalf. But I could only do that if Tobago says they want the People's National Movement, they want me as their Prime Minister, and they want these two young ladies to continue as your representatives. In the meantime, we have acquired the land and we will build a smaller marina because we will get that done to ensure that the fishermen and other vessels come in here can actually fill their boats with fuel at a pump, at a marina, as opposed to what is going on now. Because Tobago deserves the best. And under me, as your Prime Minister, I will fight for Tobago. We have young people in Tobago, as we do in Trinidad, some of whom need a little bit more guidance than others. Some of whom, due to their unfortunate circumstances, need that extra assistance and that extra discipline. There is a program called MILAT. It is a military type intervention where all of the young men who go in are taught their subjects, they're taught discipline, they're given that sort of military training, and they come out once they go through the program, top-class citizens. Well, you know what? Tobago deserves its own MILAT program. So as the Prime Minister, I am going to work with Minister Foster Cummins to make sure that the people of Tobago get their own MILAT program for your young people. I was asking Minister Webster Roy about safe homes and safe spaces for our abused women and children with special needs. She said, in central government, what we do is we fund it, we get NGOs to run it. I am giving you a commitment here tonight because I understand the difficulties sometimes that our women go through in these cases of domestic violence and needing a safe space. And I understand that there is nowhere in Trinidad or Tobago that does not suffer the scourge of gender-based violence and our women sometimes needing those safe spaces. So tonight, I give you the commitment that the People's National Movement government on the 29th of April will find a way within the confines of the law to ensure that the women of Tobago and the children of Tobago who need those safe spaces have additional spaces. We are aware as a government, I am aware as your Prime Minister that our young people are looking for employment. Are young and are not so young. I am also aware that there are private companies, private sector companies, privately owned companies that are looking to hire people. There has been no system set up in this day and age with the type of technology that exists that could be like an employment bank. I am going to work as the Prime Minister out of caste to ensure that we work with the private sector in Tobago and find out what are the jobs that they need and set up that our young people and our unemployed could come and they can give their CVs and give their what they have, their qualifications, and use the digital and the ICT to link our young people with the private sector to make it easier to get employment. We will do that as a dedicated service in Tobago. We are currently in the process of trying to secure a brand new cargo vessel to service Tobago from Trinidad. The same way we got top of the line fast ferries, the Cabinet on the 29th of April, under me as your Prime Minister, will continue the work of the 7th Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Rowley, and we will deliver a brand new cargo vessel for Tobago. I am very aware of the difficulty with public transport, especially on your hilly terrain and the type of roads and the smaller, more narrow roads going up out of the west into the east, all the way up to Speyside and around to Charlottesville. With the two young ladies here, re-elected by you, the People's National Movement in Tobago, to the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago on the 28th of April, with me as your Prime Minister, the Cabinet is going to procure specific buses for Tobago that are for Tobago and its roads that can do what needs to be done. I know it's been promised before, but we are going to deliver it, because every time I stand up in public, and you can look back over the last 9.5 years, and I say I am going to do something, I get it done. I give you that commitment in Tobago. One of the most recent, not arguments, but vociferous advocacy by Minister Shamfa Cudjoe, where she was trying to persuade her cabinet colleagues in a distribution of money, was for the Dwight York Stadium. And we've gone through the phases. But you see, you're always trying to balance where to put the money, because there's not money to go around everywhere. I am happy to report to you all tonight that Minister Cudjoe has persuaded the Cabinet that we are going to complete the refurbishment of the Dwight York Stadium. And Tobago, you take pride, you know. You take pride. You hear the name Dwight York? The younger generation may not understand who Dwight York is. But Dwight York now is the current national coach of the Trinidad and Tobago football team. Right here from Tobago. Right here from Signal Hill as well. The boasting in the back, he went to this school. I knew that from Trinidad. So congratulations once again. A personal passion of mine. We are going to enlarge the electricity capacity for Tobago. Because you see, Tobago is on a growth rate. And I want to make sure that your electricity grid can go along with you and have more. So as you expand the businesses that we intend to help you to bring to Tobago, and we intend to have function in Tobago. But you are going to do it in a state-of-the-art way. My vision for Tobago and the expansion of your grid from Cove is going to be the use of wind turbines and also your own dedicated state-of-the-art turbines. We are going to make sure Tobago has its own electricity source via those means. The other thing, you see your cruise ship complex. You see how we're trying to attract more cruise ships to Tobago. Because the same way I have loved Tobago from the time I was a small boy and enjoy coming across here, as you step off the plane or as you step off the ferry, the aura, as my young children tell me, they say, Daddy, you have to understand aura. They say, Daddy, you see that picture there? That have aura. I say, okay. I understand that aura because as soon as you touch down in Tobago, you feel love, you feel welcome, and you just feel a sense of it's good to be home. We need to find a way to attract more cruise ships to Tobago. And we believe the same way we built a brand new Tobago terminal, airport terminal, we are going to work on the expansion and upgrade of the cruise ship complex right there in Scarborough for the people of Tobago. And I want to put Tobago on notice because I've listened very carefully to your representatives talk about what is going on under the THA. And that the THA is not using the contractors and the workforce in Tobago. The projects that will be executed within the law by the central government of Trinidad and Tobago in Tobago, we will make sure there is a serious component of local content, meaning that Tobago will do it as much as is possible. The last thing I want to share with you tonight is, you see, border security and the fact that our waters are open and what that unfortunately brings, the bad elements to Tobago, but not only the bad elements. I recognize that in Tobago, our fisher folk sometimes may get into difficulty when they go out to earn an honest living, and that you need to have an appropriate Coast Guard response here in Tobago, that they could respond to search and rescue, or that they could respond to law enforcement activities. Go and check this. When I was Minister of National Security, and Minister Webster Roy raised with me the difficulties that were going on in Tobago East out of Charlottesville, I immediately instructed the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard to place a vessel that was for Tobago East up on that coastline. Unfortunately, well, you all know what happened with the vessels, right? I am happy to report to Trinidad and Tobago tonight something that I haven't reported before, something I have taken the opportunity to use Tobago as the appropriate place to report. Last week, Wednesday, I had a meeting with the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. You all aware of that? And whilst all of them focus on Young and Dragon and Young and Dragon, one of the conversations, and a very successful conversation I had with the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, was for assistance with our border patrols. And I am happy to report to Trinidad and Tobago tonight, from here, Signal Hill, Tobago, through you, the people of Tobago, that I told Secretary of State Rubio that the government is ordering 12 brand new state-of-the-art interceptors from the United States to build our security arrangements. And tonight I give you the assurance and the guarantee that out of those 12 brand new interceptors, at least 2 are going to be dedicated to Tobago for the people of Tobago and positioned right here in Tobago to serve you. So brothers and sisters, the speakers before me kept you all here long enough. It's not me, It's the speakers before you. But I cannot begin to tell you how privileged I feel tonight to stand here as your Prime Minister and to tell you how much I love you in Tobago, and to tell you that you will be a priority of the People's National Movement government on April 29 going forward, and that your 2 elected representatives who will continue to represent Tobago West and Tobago East, Shamfa Cujo Lewis and Ayana Webster Roy, will continue to be an integral part and critical part of the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago when we form the next government to continue advocating on your behalf. And I've outlined tonight some of the tangible vision that I have for the people of Tobago. And the last thing I ask, because I want to make sure I'm a careful fella, do I have your mandate? Do I have your permission tomorrow to go and ask Sandals to come to Tobago for the people of Tobago? Will you all stand up and make it known that Tobago wants its fair chance at opportunity of development, at growing its economy, and at earning its foreign exchange, that when it comes, maybe even good enough to help Trinidad a little bit as well? Tobago, thank you. Tobago, on the 28th of April, do not take God out of your thoughts. Tobago is a God-fearing land. Tobago is a beautiful country. We saw in 2010 to 2015 what a UNC-led coalition, in other words, a UNC government, will do to Tobago. I am asking you here personally tonight, and I will be joining some of you as I walk Tobago tomorrow after I've made the case for Sandals to return. Please, on the 28th of April, Tobago East and Tobago West, return the People's National Movement to the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago with Ayanna Webster Roy and Shamfa Cudjoe Lewis, and with me, Stuart Young, as the 8th Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And join me as we rejoice for Tobago and as we rejoice for Trinidad on the night of the 28th of April, and as we say, great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. And we shall prevail. A man with always full length of a call. But answer when we call. But here can rock. The honest vibrant and strong.
New chapter for TNT. We're red, ready and responsible. Vote PNM. Great is the PNM.